Talk. All right. Tell me, you could tell me some of the good things and some of the bad things. I mean, we're in July now of 2002, and you moved into the building approximately when?
May 1st of 2001.
So you've been through at least a whole
We
cycle.
went through a whole cycle and started the second one.
Right. And let's say your first cycle was really I guess you'd call the summer cycle.
Yeah, we started right before our busy season.
Right. Okay. Can you just briefly tell me like what happened? What your first summer? You know what happened and how you kind of get used to it. How some of the employees felt about it. Just briefly.
It was
any stories?
It was a huge plus from our employees. Small cracker box building.
Yeah, which was a metal building.
Metal building.
But it was
actually it was a combination of a building that had been added on to about 4 times. Some was metal and some was concrete.
But it was insulated.
Poorly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, poorly, but
Yeah.
they claim insulation.
Yeah.
They all do.
Yeah. But one of the things we loved about this type of building was, unlike a lot of distribution companies, our busy part is July and August, when it's the hottest.
Right.
So that the 2 or 3 months a year that we're asking our employees to give us 110%, it can't be 110 degrees in the building when you're doing that.
Right.
So it's worked out great for us.
And you have a lot of women working here, probably.
Yep, and we have some older people that work here, and they just love it. And they're able to give us good effort.
Was there anything unusual like that first year? What do you think the hottest got that first year that you were here, that first summer?
We had a good stretch of almost 2 weeks of 90 degrees plus outside.
Yeah.
And it was just comfortable every day in the building, no problems.
Yeah, well, that's great. Basically, you just really have just 3 10-ton heating units and air conditioning units back there.
Right.
And they're all set up on the computer system.
Yep.
I don't know if you want to talk about that and maybe the way the fan system works. I don't know if you're familiar. You know how it works.
I know how it works, but I never get involved in it. It all just happens in the background.
Right.
I think the first hot week I called, what's Dick. I called Dick, and we made a slight adjustment in one of the thermostats, and we haven't touched anything since then.
Okay, well that's good. When the fans come on, do you notice they ever come on during the days or at night? Or
it's usually at night, but it just happens all in the background. We really have very little knowledge that it's going on.
Well, you can't even hear them even when they
That's
are
right.
on.
That's right.
Okay, but well, I'm going to get into that. I'm going to try to have some sort of a demonstration on how that works. Let's talk about maybe the airlocks a little bit. Employee airlocks and the truck airlocks.
Yeah, both doors are airlocks. All of the truck doors are airlocks. We've had to kind of teach our people to, don't open one door until they close the other door. They're not perfect with it, but I think we do a good enough job that we keep the integrity of the building.
How did you kind of get used to the way we set up the dock system? I mean, that was kind of always an iffy thing as we designed the building. Everybody was leery about it, and we didn't want to bring the trucks inside, didn't want to spend that money.
Yeah.
But we had to come up with something.
For the most part, it's worked fine. The only thing that gets a little troublesome is if we get a trucker that may have a full truckload, and we've got 15, 20, 22 pallets coming. You can't stage all of those in the vestibule. So then we wind up probably bringing some in the building while we're still unloading the rest of the truck.
Right.
But when a truck is backed up, you've got a fairly good seal on the door.
Right.
So it's not that big of a deal.
Right. Well, it's not. It's only designed to do what we did.
Yeah.
But you can always have a little bit bigger vestibule if you needed to.
Yeah, but when a normal truck comes in with 2 or 3 pallets, we take them off in the vestibule, sign the truck bill, the guy leaves, we close the outside door, then we bring them into the building.
Okay, how are the automatic doors working pretty good? Are they working so that have you crashed into them?
We haven't crashed into them yet. We have a problem with one of them that somehow the electric eye gets confused. Although it's been working pretty well lately, so hopefully we've got it solved.
Okay. Well, we put in the electric eyes, which are a little bit cheaper than the magnetic thing.
That's right.
You can always change it if you needed to.
Yeah, we've actually got a quote on changing
All right. I noticed that in your mezzanine, you've got a lot of people still working up here in the mezzanine, which is a lot higher than the rest of the building, and it seems like they're relatively comfortable.
Yeah, a few of them, we have a few fans up there.
Right.
But it's just enough to move the air just
move the air around, sure. You have to, because sometimes when you get all of the obstructions in the way, sometimes you might have to move the air around. And I noticed you've got pallets at all different, skids at all different heights.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else can we talk about? Well, let's talk about going into the winter time. You went into the first winter.
Yeah.
So you've gone through that whole cycle. We
were amazed at how low the power bills were.
Right.
We were so amazed, we actually had the power company come out and double check everything because we didn't believe it.
And I bet you they were happy about that.
Yeah. And I've got a letter in the file that they're saying, no, there's no problems. And the gas bill is less than some houses. That's what the gas bill is for this building.
So you mentioned to me on the phone it was like you had your worst winter month, and your gas bill was approximately how
It was
much?
$900.
Right, and that was the worst month.
That was the worst one, yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
And really your average is probably a lot less than that.
Oh, yeah, the average is a lot less than that.
Is there any way for you to calculate how much you spend on just electric for air conditioning?
No, there really isn't, because we've got so much conveyor and other things
Yeah,
going
that's
on
true.
here. I can't, and
And the lights.
And the old building didn't have the conveyor, so I can't even compare to that, so
Right.
that's a tough one for us.
Well, we're kind of guesstimating you're spending between $5,000 and $7,000 a year total, heating and air conditioning. I mean, under 10 for sure.
The one thing I do know is the electric bill here for 150,000 square feet, air conditioned, plus all the conveyor and all the chargers and everything else that's going on, is about the same as the electric bill for our office at 20,000 square feet, which is probably almost all air conditioning.
Right.
And here we get the air conditioning plus the conveyor and everything else.
And
We're
a
about
lot
the
of
same.
lights.
And a lot of lights, yeah.
Right, and you have all electric forklifts,
Correct.
and that's
Yeah.
that's a big thing.
Yeah.
But you can't use really a lot of propane. We talked about that.
Yeah.
You start gassing your people out.
Yeah.
It's okay to have maybe one or so if you need something really heavy, but
And we've done that a couple times just for a project, but not on a long-term basis.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you went through the first one. You're coming into the second year. Don't forget the building's supposed to fall down at the end of 2 years. That was the prediction that some people here in town said. So I want to be here that day. But maybe we can even get it in a local newspaper or something. Anything else you can think about? Maintenance as far as the exterior, interior. Anything else you can think of?
We've really had no, I mean, it's still early, but we've had no maintenance issues. We haven't had anything, a couple small things. We have a lot of problems with the employee door. That's
Yeah.
something maybe we can talk about
Right.
before you leave. Just, I don't know what, that's one little thing we did wrong somehow.
Yeah, right.
But no, overall maintenance, no real
Well, you have
issues.
a lot of people going in and out of that
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah, no real issues, no leaks from the roof. I know we had some questions about internal
Right,
roof drains.
because of your product.
Yep, we've had no issues there.
Okay, well that's good.
Mhm.
It's nice and bright in here. How would you say, and you probably talk to most of your employees, and a lot of them are actually living in Galesburg all their life. How do you think that they've accepted the building, or do they talk about it to other people or anything like that?
I don't know if they talk about it to other people, but I know they love it. And oddly enough, they like the lighting even better than the air conditioning.
Really?
The lighting has just been a huge issue.
Oh, because of the fact they can
It's-
actually see something.
Exactly, yeah.
It was pretty dingy in the other place.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well.
All the lighting is a plus year-round, whereas, I suppose if I ask them now, they like the air conditioning. But if you ask them in the winter or the spring or the fall, the
Right.
lighting's the first thing on their mind.
Right. Well, that's good. Well, I can't think of anything else other than it's. I noticed a couple of the thermometers outside are 98, so I picked a really hot day to come here. If you were to do this again, of course you were involved in part of the team.
Yeah.
Right from the beginning, from the design. You came up to Chicago. You saw some of our buildings.
Yeah.
They were very doubtful because you have a very, I guess you would call it, not old-fashioned. How would you call it? Conservative.
Yeah.
Group of people that own
Yeah.
the company and run the company, and it was hard to convince them that. And I got a nice letter from Ed saying that they really believe it now. But all in all, what do you think the feeling of as the head people up there? Do you think they made the right decision?
Oh, I think they believe they made the right decision.
Yeah,
I think it's very positive.
Right, and would they do it again?
Yeah, I think they would, yeah.
And would they recommend it to other people?
Yeah, I'm sure they would.
And I'm sure, of course, we got the letter, but,
Yeah.
oh, well, that's good to know. I mean, we don't have a whole lot of them popping up all over the place because it's so hard to convince people. The biggest problem I have is the other precast builders, they say, well, we put insulation in the walls. But then why don't they work?
Yeah.
And you go into their buildings, and I don't care where, if it's in the middle of summer or winter, they just don't work. But they always have that little thing that's they're insulated, and they fool the customer. What would you say to something like that? I mean, you saw a few of them. You probably visited other buildings.
Actually, the local contractors here that build the precast buildings, they actually did a large project for us in our other facility in terms of a call center and stuff. And they asked if they could see the building. And I said, sure. And I gave them a tour. And all they kept saying was, what a great building. Oh, this is nice. This is tremendous. What a great building. They said that over and over again.
Well, that's good to know, except they run out and still build their
Yeah,
own stuff.
that's right.
Well, it's unfortunate, but I guess they don't care because they're not paying the bill.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it.